Now, we simplify the equation for steady state by saying plasma volume plus tissue volume times the fraction amount in plasma over fraction amount in tissue. So tissue is sort of an all-encompassing word here. So we have to actually think that this is taking each tissue in our body. So the volume of your heart times the fraction amount in plasma over fraction amount in plasma in your heart. Volume of muscle times, so each of these is a separate thing that we'd add these all together to give you your actual tissue volume. So the reason I bring this up, there's many tissues, we probably can't even think of them all. But adipose tissue, so one of the reasons your volume might go up if you've got extra adipose is because your volume distribution, or your volume of adipose, if you carry more fat, this is going to increase, right? But it really depends upon this relationship. So where is the drug bound? Is it bound in the adipose? If it's highly bound in the adipose, then your changes in adipose tissue are going to matter a lot. If it's not, it probably won't. So there's things to be noted here with, don't just think of this as some all-encompassing compartment. Each of these have to be added together to give you this. But we will mostly just be talking about tissue volume to simplify things. So that's VSS. We've been talking about volume of distribution at steady state. So what's the difference between apparent volume, VD, which is what we talked about with the oil well, and volume of distribution at steady state? Well, apparent volume is actually trying to measure volume distribution at steady state, but it is important to realize that that's just a calculation, whereas the volume of distribution is a physiologic measure. So the volume of distribution at steady state is physiologic, whereas the apparent volume of distribution is a mathematical, and it's not a physiological volume. Now, we usually use them interchangeably. We usually assume that they're very, very close to being the same, which they usually are, but they are different, just so you understand that how we use them, but they're not really the same. All right. See you next time. Thank you. I think that's the last slide here. Oh, importance of volume distribution. I guess we've gone over this before, but I'll go over it again. Importance of volume distribution. Well, first of all, it's a determinant of how long the drug will stay in the body, because it's a determinant of K in half-life, therefore a determinant of how often we give the drug, our dose interval calculation. It's also important because it tells us where the drug's going to go and where it's not going to go, right? And that's important for therapy discussions. We'll also talk about it in relation to hemodialysis, I think in the next group of slides. All right, thanks. Bye. Oops, wait, calculation of loading dose. I forgot about that one. I guess I should actually clear. Okay, so I am talking about this now. Sorry, I guess I should have previewed this. All right, so calculating of loading dose. If we're trying to figure out a loading dose, we make sure we use our central volume of distribution, not our eventual volume distribution. We don't use VD apparent, and we don't use VSS because we could overdose a patient. We talked about clearance or elimination rate, constant, and half-life. Hemodialysis clearance. Hemodialysis is basically like an organ, like a kidney sitting on a table next to a patient. So in order for that drug to get cleared by the dialysis machine, the drug has to make it over to that dialysis machine. The dialysis machine, and so in order to get there, it has to get into the blood, doesn't it? So it has to get into the blood to travel to the dialysis machine in order for the dialysis to occur and the blood to be cleaned. Now, how effective is the dialysis? Well, that depends on a lot of things. And we want to know that as pharmacists because if let's say our patient had a toxic overdose of something, or if our patient is on hemodialysis and we want to know if the drug is being eliminated and therefore that we need to give another dose after hemodialysis, or how to manage their medication. So we need to know if a drug is going to be eliminated by hemodialysis because we can use it therapeutically, or we can use it therapeutically, period. Okay, so What do you think is going to determine whether a drug is dialyzed or not? Well, it's going to have to get into the blood. So if you have a drug with a very large volume of distribution, the drug is highly bound to tissue proteins. Therefore, it is stuck out in the tissue proteins and is going to take a long time to travel back into the blood in order to get over to the hemodialysis machine. So that's going to just take a lot of time, and therefore it probably won't be eliminated very quickly, because you're only on dialysis 3 or 4 hours, and it's going to take time for the drug to move from the tissues into the plasma. So if a drug has a very large volume of distribution, it is unlikely to be dialyzed very effectively. Also, if a drug is very highly bound to proteins, it is unlikely to be dialyzed, because it's just not going to be able to move through the dialysis membrane. It's going to be too big, bound to the big honking molecule. All right, so changes in volume of distribution is going to allow us to predict things just like we did back in dosage regimen design. So if something happens with our plasma protein binding, and therefore changing our volume of distribution, we know that will then change our half-life, and therefore possibly cause us to need to change our dosing interval. Okay, now I think I'm actually done. Let me check. Oh, we're going to go into this in the next slideshow. Sorry, I think I posted too many things. Okay, thanks. Bye.